Okay, we are recording.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of the Tents and Tabernacles Podcast. It's your girl Vic here.
And it's Wiggy. How are y'all?
You
How
know,
are you?
I'm tired.
Yes.
I'm glad to be here though.
Okay, what's going on? Why are you so tired? Work?
Yes, work. Yeah, I closed last night and then I woke up for church in the morning like I'm
Oh.
supposed to do. So
Mhm.
I'm a little spent today.
Yeah,
But it's
I
fine.
figured you were at church today too earlier. I was like, she's been
Mhm.
so quiet all day. I was like, she's probably at church and doing stuff.
Yeah. And then afterwards, we went to my mom's house because my birthday's on Tuesday. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. And so we went over
Oh,
there so I can get my gift from my mom.
how fun.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell the audience how old you'll be, or is that a secret?
Oh, I'm gonna be 26.
Oh, okay. Whoop,
I'm like
whoop.
a young old person.
Yeah, 26 is still pretty young in the grand scheme
Mm,
of
it
things.
doesn't feel young.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the adulting factor that's ghetto, you know? Like being an adult is ghetto. If you have a chance to be a child for any longer of time, do it. Like don't try to be an adult too fast cuz once you're here, it's ghetto.
It it doesn't really get any better as
Oh
far as
no.
I mean, you get better at handling it, I think. But as
Okay.
far as like the adult things, you only get more responsibilities like as you get older, and that is what is the ghetto part. You're like, I don't want anything else. I don't want to be responsible for things.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. That's fair. That is fair. No one really warns you about this though. So it's just like, well, I'm here now. I'm an adult and I am thankful that I'm an adult cuz not everybody has seen 26. Um
Hmm.
so I'm grateful. But yeah, uh adulting be trying me. Um but yeah, do you have any highs and tries? Highs and or
Um,
tries?
from the week, well, I was having a frustrating situation with my son and his transportation to school, and that finally got resolved. So that was kind of a high of the week, I
That's
guess.
good.
Yeah, I don't remember anything super trying. Just battled my mind like every week of every day of my life. It's a constant battle with the thoughts that come in your mind. But for the most part, had a good week. I think it wasn't out of the ordinary.
Yeah, same here. I guess a high is now that I'm turning 26, like every
Mhm.
time around my birthday or every year around my birthday, I'm like, well, what am I doing with my life? My first thought is never like, oh, like what am I gonna do to celebrate? My first thought is, okay, what did I just do with this past year of my life, and how am I not gonna do this next year?
Oh my goodness. Do you know you gotta celebrate? But I can relate to that. Like, dang, what am I doing? Time is just passing by.
Yeah.
But you know, I wouldn't worry about it so much. Just celebrate yourself. Celebrate that you're turning
Yes.
26. So that means next week your high of the week should be your birthday. Should be,
It
right?
should be, yes. Well, okay, so it's a high, yes. All of next week is a high. However, comma, and my pastor's probably gonna listen to this later. He called for a corporate fast the week of my birthday.
Oh. Oh.
And I'm both thankful
Yeah.
because I mean, what better way to like ring in, your new year of living? But then it's like, well, I guess I'll celebrate later.
Yeah, you can eat something next week.
Yeah, so I
So
have
did it start
plans.
today?
Yes, it started today.
Oh, that's why
Hmm.
you're tired too. You haven't eaten anything.
So okay,
Well,
so the
is it
fast.
fasting food or what are y'all fasting from?
So basically, he said, okay, so he presented it to us as we're fasting foods and fetishes. And so basically it's subjective. Whatever has a hold on you, you push away. So if sugar has a thing on you, then you push away sugar. If meat has a thing on you, like you push away meat. And then obviously the stuff like YouTube, social media, the stuff that like consumes your time, you push that back. So it's all subjective. Um yeah, we've my husband and I have gotten rid of cheese because we had already gotten rid of like meats and stuff in our diet much. So now it's really just fruits and vegetables this week, which is interesting. It's gonna be fun. But
I think it'll be
yeah,
good. I think,
it will be.
fasting
It'll be a nice
isn't fun.
reset.
Yeah, fasting isn't
Yeah,
fun, but it's necessary. So
it is. It
I
really
will
is.
I will be, holding you guys up in prayer. I
Thank
will not be
you.
fasting this week. I did
I
do a
was just about
social
to ask.
media.
I was like, if you want to, you could do it
I
with
mean, I
me.
could maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I did do a social media fast
Mm.
like last week. That was very much necessary. Oh my gosh. Wait. I just realized that my mic is not plugged in, child. Lord
I've been
Jesus.
able to hear you like really well though.
Yeah, but still, I'm like, why don't I see my blue light? Oh my gosh. People are hearing this in real time. It's okay, guys. I'm not a professional yet. Jesus
I don't think
Christ.
anyone ever is.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I wonder if, let me see, if I'm, goodness Lord. Okay.
Oh, that is different.
Oh my gosh. What a
It's not
rookie
like a
mistake.
drastic difference, but like I can hear the difference.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it should be a difference. I know my mom, oh, now I feel like I hear a little echo. Do I hear echo? Should I back up? Lord, help me, Jesus. Okay. Whew. Anyway. Let's hope that the beginning of that was together and
Mm,
that we don't
it was
have to like
together.
start over.
Huh. It was
But
straight.
anyway, let's get into the meat of what we are here to study today.
Yes.
So I want to say we this week we read mostly about Jacob and his family,
Hmm.
and we got into Joseph and his brothers and things like that. So
Yeah.
I would like to start with Jacob returning to Bethel.
Okay.
Okay, so what I noticed, and I guess I could give a little bit of a back story. So
Yes.
before Jacob returned to Bethel, Jacob was in, where was he at? Shechem, I believe. I think, am I saying that right? It
This was
might have been.
after like Dinah and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So yeah.
they were in Shechem, and we will talk about this later in more detail. But Jacob's daughter is raped in Shechem,
Hmm.
and so the moral of the story is they're not even supposed to be in Shechem, but they are in Shechem.
Hmm.
So I come into the story where Jacob is leaving Shechem because of all these crazy things that happened to his family, including the rape of his daughter, and they return to Bethel. I love this part because it's like they are literally returning to God and living a godly life. So when they leave, before they go, Jacob goes to his kids and he's like, get rid of all your idols, get rid of all your foreign gods. They He doesn't ask for their earrings, but they give him their earrings too,
Hmm.
which implies to me that the earrings were used as they had some kind of like occult meaning, or maybe they had like some kind of charms on them or something. Because
Hmm.
what's wrong with earrings? I don't know if anything's wrong with earrings, or if they're associated with pagan things, or maybe back then. I'm not sure.
I mean, I think they had symbols because I was this it's not an earring, but it's a nose ring, but it's the when they went to go get Rebecca for Isaac, they put a ring, like they gave her a nose ring or whatever. Like I feel like it had
Oh yeah.
like the jewelry that they wore wasn't just cosmetic.
Right. Right.
I'm not sure what
Right.
it was. Like I'm not sure what the earrings meant, but I feel like it meant something or attached to someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they went back to Bethel, and here, this is where God actually renames Jacob Israel again, because he already named him Israel. I want to say when he wrestled with God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when he wrestled with God, he names him Israel. But apparently, throughout this whole time, Jacob and his family have obviously been wilding out because they have foreign gods in their house. They're not worshiping God anymore. Jacob is in a worldly, immoral place where he's not even supposed to be, where his daughter ends up getting raped. So it's like, it seems as though Jacob has not been following God for a little while. I don't know how long.
Mm. Yeah. It's giving me very Abraham vibes. Um
Mm-hmm.
so and then like God ends up, and I remember writing a note about this, and so that's was like I had to pull it up in Genesis 35. And so like whenever Abraham was taking things to his own hands, and then after that God reminded him of the covenant and then reminded him of like who God was in his life, and that's also when he changed his name.
Okay.
And so here it's quoting the same thing that God said, or God says again what he said to Abraham after Abraham tried to take matters into his own hands with Ishmael. And then, like, after the 13 years or whatever, then God said, I am El Shaddai, God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply. You will become a great nation. Even many nations, kings will be among your descendants. God said that to Abraham almost as a like that's the redemption. Like I'm gonna remind you of my promises on your
Yeah.
life, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. I also like that. I feel like it's giving you like a new identity. Like we as
Mm,
Christians, when we start walking with Christ, it's, or it's like you have a new identity. I don't know if we
yeah,
necessarily have new names, like God isn't giving us new names, but I feel like that was like their, it's hard to describe it, but it's like they were saved now. They were with God now. It's like you have a whole new identity, which is
yeah,
true.
yeah. I kind of want to backtrack because that made me think
Mhm.
of a note that I learned about when Jacob was fighting with God. So, like, I've heard that story all the time. You know, some people say that it was angels. Some people, say that it was God, or like that it was Jesus before the incarnation in the New Testament. But that aside, it was the fact that like he fought with God as who he was as Jacob, and God, like, it doesn't say that Jacob picked the fight with God.
Mm.
It says that the man wrestled with Jacob. So it's not that Jacob was picking the fight and choosing to fight with God on a certain thing, but that God saw fit to fight Jacob to produce something in him. And so like
Ooh.
I had read this in the Enduring Word commentary. And so like their wrestling was God's way of stripping him of his old nature or his sinful nature, of himself, basically. Like he was wrapped up in pride and deceit and all that kind of stuff. Like his name meant swindler, meant cheater,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that was what his name meant. Like that was his identifier, and that's how his life went from the moment he was born. And so like God wrestling with him was a breaking down of his pride. And something that I didn't quite understand until I read the commentary was like, in my head when I was reading it, like, oh, Jacob was winning, right? Like that's how it's taught. And when you read it, in certain translations it can sound like that, but when I read the commentary, it wasn't necessarily that Jacob was defeating God, but rather it looked like that. So there's a perception aspect within that sentence where like if someone is like, say somebody is actively rebelling against God, it can look like they're succeeding in their rebellion, but at the end
Right.
of the day, God is allowing them to succeed in their rebellion. It's not that God cannot stop their rebellion. It's that God is allowing them to continue in their rebellion. And this is it's kind of like where we see here, like God wasn't losing. He could have easily stopped Jacob with supernatural means. Like God is God. He didn't have to wrestle with Jacob on Jacob's level.
Yeah.
Like God allowed Jacob to fight him. So the fact that a man was even able to fight God meant that God had to allow this man to fight back.
And he didn't kill him.
And he didn't kill him.
Because that's how Jacob knew that it was God. Well, that's how I feel like the reader can know that is God, because Jacob says, I have seen God, basically, and I didn't die. Because it was believed that if you saw God face to face, you would die. Which, I mean, yeah. Probably just die of shock.
Right. And
yeah, so that
like God. Wait, go ahead.
I said I like how you put that on how people can look like they're successful in their sin, but it's just because God is allowing, them to wrestle through that, or whatever it is. He has like a plan for everything, and he knows what he's doing.
Like there's a point in your fight. And a lot of times as Christians, we're taught not to wrestle with God, like with what God has told us to do, and who God has designed us to be. And yes, we can have faith in God. Like Jacob knew who he was fighting. He knew that God existed. He understood who God was in his life. For him to even have reverence for this creature or this being that he's fighting. And so he had reverence for this creature to the point where, and I say creature because of people's theories of it being God or not. But I believe it was Jesus before the incarnation of Jesus in the New
I
Testament.
feel like a lot of times when he comes down bodily, I'm like, how can it not be Jesus? Like, exactly. I feel like if God is ever in bodily form, it's Jesus. Because I can't explain the Trinity, but it's like
right.
It's one, but they operate as three. So I feel like the operation of the human God is Jesus. But how can I prove it? I don't know. But I think it's a good theory, though. Because in the Old Testament, I'm looking at a lot of times now that God comes down and he's like a person. And it's like God is talking directly to people, like face to face.
Right. Like, and also, I mean, we can see in the New Testament after Jesus was raised from the dead that he can disguise himself to the point where people didn't know that was Jesus. And I mean, like, Jesus was Jesus. Like, that's like saying that, like, we don't recognize Beyonce. Like, in the simplest of terms, like, we know Obama. Like, we know, like, they can go to Timbuktu and come back. We'll still know that that's Beyonce and Obama. Exactly. And so the fact that God was, as Jesus was, well, I'm not going to say it like that, but that Jesus, I don't believe in modality. Anyway, that's not the point. We're not talking about the Trinity. We're not discussing the Trinity.
Okay. I don't even want to touch that right now.
We're not discussing the Trinity.
To prepare for a month at least before we touch that topic.
Yeah.
Because it's too much.
God
I believe in it. That's a real faith. I'm like, I don't know. But it's true.
They're all distinct. Having their own roles, and anyway, not the point. Not the point.
Yeah, we digress.
the fact that Jesus was able to disguise himself goes to show that if it is Jesus that Jacob is fighting here, that he very well could not, he very well could have been looking different than the Jesus that we see in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
But how did I get onto that? So the fact that this being also like struck him in his side, and I was like, oh, well, you know, when we're wrestling with God or whatever, like originally when I read it, I had this whole like, you know how you like think about like sermons or like how you're gonna teach this or whatever, or like trying to connect it to something. At first I was like, you know, sometimes when we fight with God and God notices that like we're going to like win in ourselves, he'll remind us of a weakness that we have so that we have to depend on him. And that's not it at all. It's the fact that like Jacob, the only way Jacob could have won is if he lost. Him being blessed and him having his name changed, he had to lose in himself.
Yes.
So
Okay.
for him to win, himself had to lose. So it's the fact that like it's not that Jacob was winning necessarily, but it's the fact that God had to set it up in a way where Jacob had to, the only thing that Jacob could hold on to is God.
Yeah.
He could not say, oh, like I won this in myself. Like, no, you didn't. You didn't win at all, but you won because God is blessing you through this. So it's a weird like perception situation with him that I thought was really cool, because like if we're wrestling with who God wants us to be, we have to lose our current self to be able to gain who God is calling us to be. The transformation that's happening within the fight that we're having, within the wrestling that we're having with God, is so important that he's not just going to end that wrestling. Like it went on through the night. God could have ended that fight a long time ago.
Really fast.
Yeah, like he continued and endured. Like love endures long, and that's what that was. Like
but
God
endured. I like
fight.
that he allows us to wrestle with him, though. I feel like we do the same thing. It's just like that to me is pretty awesome that he will allow you to work through things and to fight with him a little bit, even though at the end of the day, like you said, you have to let him almost, I heard this in a sermon today, like you have to let God mess up your plans. You think you have plans, and once you fully surrender and let him plan your life and order your steps, then you will be on your purpose and what you're really supposed to do. And a lot of times it's not even what you thought you wanted to do.
Right.
It's
that's literally where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Literally where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Should we we're probably gonna be on Joseph for a while.
Yeah.
So let's do Joseph. Where should we start from the beginning?
Yeah, because my stuff is like the middle of his story.
I have a note on the favoritism from Jacob, and how their family was very dysfunctional. If you really think about it, it's like Jacob has like at least 13 kids, at least, but that they name. He has one daughter. He has 12 sons. Yeah. Does he have Benjamin at this point yet? I can't remember. No, so
Benjamin is while Joseph is in captivity.
Yeah, but it's like when you think about how the brothers were treating Joseph, it's because like Jacob had this strong favoritism to Joseph. And I think that Jacob had that favoritism because Joseph was the son he actually wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had all these kids by like 4 different women. But at the end of the day, when he went to go marry Rachel, he wanted Rachel and Rachel alone. He wanted to have kids with Rachel. And he was forced, well, I don't know if he was forced or not, but he had children with Leah and what was the other concubine's name? It's like Bilhah. I don't know if I'm saying that
Yeah,
right.
Bilhah and
And there's
Zilpah.
something like that. So he has like 4 baby
There's
mamas,
2. Mm-hmm.
lots of drama. All the kids got different mamas. You know, the kids are their mamas obviously have foreign idols that they pass down these things to their children. It's just a mess going on. So
Mm-hmm.
when I read it, I really um got that Jacob, I don't know, I wonder if he resented his other sons too. Like he didn't have to go all out like that, giving Jacob a robe of many colors and doing the most, giving him all the shares of, because he, even when Benjamin was born, he was he showed him a lot of favoritism too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was a son from Rachel.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
second son from Rachel.
that was his first love, first and only love. So he never loved those other ladies ever. Isn't
Yikes.
that
And it's
interesting?
like there's so many people who have multiple wives in the Bible, but this is by far the worst experience for the
And I
women.
don't think he
Like,
wanted any of them. He was like, this is not how it was supposed to go at all. And now his family is just super dysfunctional. And he didn't make it any better by
no,
doing all that favoritism stuff. It's the
but he got
youngest.
it from his mama.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, if we really talking about like you raise your kids like you was raised unless you know like different, um, he did pretty much the same thing
That's
as
true.
his mom did for him.
Yeah. Rebecca played the favorites too. So that was the note I had about the favoritism. After that, is basically how he got sold into slavery. I wanted to talk
Oh,
about how his brothers, I felt like they overreacted. Like I don't know if they were just so sinful, or because this is after they're supposed to return. Sorry, I feel like I just heard fireworks or something. I'm
oh.
just like, what's going on? There's no holidays. Um,
Yes, it is. It's my
anyway,
birthday. Sorry.
uh, oh yeah, the brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's give a little backstory here. Joseph has his coat of many colors,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he was kind of annoying. He's probably like that annoying little brother that's just like, bro, you always talking, get out of here. So he goes to find his brothers. For what reason, I do not know. I don't know if his dad sent him to go find them,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
so he goes to go find them. I don't know why Jacob sent him to go find them. They don't like him. So
Yeah.
when he's far off, they see him and they're like, "Ooh, here comes Joseph. When he gets over here, we should kill him." Like that's
That's
drastic. Like
extra.
you go
Like,
kill him, not like let's beat him up or let's tease him.
that's a lot
But
of resentment.
you are saying you're going to kill him, which is, I mean, it's going to hurt him because he's dead now, and it's going to hurt your dad. So you have some resentment against your dad because of the favoritism and maybe how he treats your mom. You know,
Mm-hmm.
who knows what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you
Cause
think?
cause they didn't really like Rachel either.
Yeah, nobody liked Rachel because she was getting the favoritism.
Yeah. And so
And we
like
don't
the
know
kids
how
knew.
bad Jacob was really treating his wives and children.
Right.
He might have been a bad dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like it.
It does seem like that for sure because I don't want to jump too far ahead, but even like how he dealt with all of them, like when he died was ridiculous. But
He read them
um
to filth.
he did. But something that I noticed and I was like cracking a joke about it, but I had to look it up and I felt kind of bad. So when okay, Leah was it Reuben that came
Did what?
that brought Leah mandrakes and Rachel was like, yo, can I have some of your mandrakes? And Leah was like, you already have my husband. Now you trying to get some mandrakes. And she was like, please, you can sleep with him if I can have your mandrakes. And then like she
Yeah, but
sleeps
I
with him
don't
and gets
remember which
pregnant.
son it was.
I don't either. And yeah, sorry. The way it's written, like I have favoritism towards Joseph. Like that's how bad Jacob's favorite. Like I'm
You're like,
sorry.
I
I don't
even
know.
like Jacob. I mean, you know,
I
Joseph.
don't know what any of the other sons like. I don't know who they are.
I feel like he
Um,
was really nice. I think that he was just an annoying little brother. I think they really took it too far, but it was all in a big, grander plan, obviously.
yeah,
But I
but we
feel
do
like
okay.
he
We
was
can
kind
tell
of
though.
tattletale and all that.
Yeah, we can tell though that Joseph was kind of dramatic
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah,
because
for sure.
like the way he handled his brothers when they came, like obviously it's been like a decade or so. Like it's been a while that he's been like in Egypt or whatever since he's seen his brothers. So I understand you having an emotional response, but this whole roundabout, like
Doing the
um
most, sending them
the
back and
absolute
forth.
most, like
It's
you're in
too
a
much.
great spot. Like you should be thanking them. You're in a great spot. Like I don't
I
understand.
did think this time around, I said, Joseph does have a little bit of drama to him because even he was doing, he was kind of he was acting like he didn't know them. He was putting on a great performance.
He's
And
the whole
then
interpreter so that they didn't know he spoke Hebrew
look,
the
and
most.
then like when they weren't looking, he was weeping. So like weeping is like sobbing, like it's not like a cry. It's like I am so emotional. So he was like an emotional person. I
Yeah,
did notice that. I was like, oh, he's really emotional. But I thought he was
drama.
really his character though overall. I don't know if the slavery humbled him. Um, so audience, at this moment now, we talked about the brothers um looking at him from afar off and they want to kill him. Newsflash or surprise, they end up selling him into slavery to, I want to say, to some Ishmaelites, which is funny because
Right.
Ishmaelites are like what is that? Like their great
Cousins.
uncle
Great.
people?
Yeah.
Is that an
Yeah.
uncle?
Hmm.
Great uncle? Yes, I think so. I might. Is
I
Abraham
think
their
it's
grandfather?
closer. It might be
Abraham.
closer because Esau married a daughter from the Ishmael, like Ishmael's line.
It's
I don't
a
know.
lot of mix-ups, but
It's a lot.
he got sold into slavery. So now he's in slavery. But I feel like once he was in slavery, he excelled to a pretty good position because um, you can tell in the story that God's hand never left him. Now he got thrown into
Mhm.
slavery. I mean, think about this. They planning to kill you, but one of your brothers is like, no, let's not kill him. Let's just throw him in the pit. And I believe that was Reuben. Now, I don't know what Reuben's plan was. Well, he was going to go back to the pit to get him. But
Mhm.
once he got back to the pit to get him and he returned to camp with his brothers, what was he going to tell his brothers? Oh, I found him. Like, what was the plan there?
Not, oh,
So,
I found him.
yeah, I don't,
They
I
probably
don't
would have
know.
picked Reuben up and put him in the pit with Joseph. Like,
I was
why'd you
really
take
thinking that. I
him
was
out?
like, what was his plan? Like, to let him just go, like, run away? Like, who knows? They don't put that part in there. But, dang, what part was I on? Oh, so they sold him in slavery. Now he's pretty humble, kind of. He's rising to success, still in slavery, but he's like over the whole household. He's like
Mhm.
the butler or something.
Yeah. Oh, so okay,
What was he
he's
like?
the he's the servant to the guard, like Potiphar's like head of guard.
Yeah, he was still a servant, but
Not
he
Potiphar's
wasn't
head of
like,
guard, but Pharaoh's head of guard,
yeah, so
which
Potiphar.
is Potiphar.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he worked for Potiphar as a slave, but Potiphar regards him in a really high
Hmm.
way because even he can tell that God is with him. Ain't
Yes.
that crazy? I love that.
And I don't,
Like,
so as we're talking, it's like I don't think that Joseph was prideful before. I think
mhm,
Joseph was full of zeal before. So
yeah,
like zeal without wisdom is just a whole bunch of chaos. And I feel like
yeah,
that
And zealous people are annoying sometimes. You love them, but they're
Yeah.
annoying. You're like, bruh,
Yeah,
relax.
because there's a time and place, and like if you're overzealous, there's just I'm gonna do this all the time. Like right now, there's no wisdom or tact when it comes to timing,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think that him being in slavery taught him timing, um, and taught him, I mean, the importance of timing because he always had this administrative anointing. So like him using this anointing of administration and overseeing was annoying in the wrong place. Like if it was like him using that on his brothers was annoying, but him doing that in regards to, you know, Potiphar's estate is wise and astute and, you know, like very on purpose because it has a place. Like if he would, the way he would tell his dreams and all this kind of stuff, like he had a good heart.
Mm-hmm.
But him being like overly excited and
The timing.
overzealous to just be administrative basically,
Yeah.
because that was just something that came naturally to him. It was often displaced.
Yeah, because speaking of like say his dreams and stuff, he didn't really have to tell his brothers about that
Mm-mm.
dream. He really could have kept it to himself. And it still
Yeah.
would have been true. He didn't have to tell it for down the line for them. Well, I don't know. I feel like they were jealous of him anyway. That
Mhm.
dream made them more angry. So when
Yeah.
they saw him, they wanted to do harm to him. But I feel like you don't have to tell everybody what's going on all the time. You don't have to
Mhm.
tell people, what dreams you're having or what God said to you unless God said to say it to other people.
Right.
And
Right.
sometimes it's okay to be quiet
Mhm.
because it you don't know what kind of resentment and stuff you're stirring up. And now they're sinning or they're in their sin because they're angry people. And yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, all about timing. I like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
But his administrative gift, like we kind of downplay that in the church or just in life in general, like someone being able um to be organized enough to administrate things seems to be like the bottom of the totem pole. Like any clerical work is like entry level, but there's such an anointing and a gift for administration that people often look over, and it's those people who have that administrative gift who are able to see into the future in the sense of to like to set things up for it, like Joseph was able to do. um he understood that his gift of interpreting dreams wasn't just because he was like a cool person. Like it wasn't just because he was a good person or because he was anything special. Like they were like, Joseph, like interpret my dreams. And he's like, only God can interpret dreams. It's like, okay, cool, bro. But like, what did God say? You know?
Yeah.
Um, oh, and also I wrote this note down, like God will start to talk to unbelievers to set you up to fulfill his purposes. The fact that Pharaoh listened or like acknowledged the fact that God gave him a dream. Like he acknowledged the importance of his dream, and when he took it to his magicians, they couldn't understand it. So obviously there was something beyond his magicians. And so him understanding authority and understanding power was like, well, something is more powerful than my magicians if they don't know.
Yeah. And the gods that we worship,
Right.
you know,
So it's like that doesn't mean I'm a believer now,
yeah.
but I understand authority.
I mean, you believe something because
Right.
you got the dream. So Pharaoh got a dream 2 times,
Mhm.
and the dreams were kind of similar, but they were different. So he knew they bothered him so much, and he knew that since he had them twice, that he's like, okay, somebody got to come tell me something. The gravity of the dream shook him so much that he was like, there's something more. That he didn't just write it off as like I had a crazy dream because like
Right.
I dream literally every night. Sometimes I have recurring ones. Sometimes they're just super wild. Like I've had dreams since I was a kid, and I wish somebody would interpret them sometimes. Sometimes I go
Same.
to sleep and I pray before I go to sleep because I'm like, I know I'm going to dream. I'm like, God, just give me, I need to know what it means when I wake up because
Mm.
it's just too much. But um, Joseph also let him know that it meant something. He's the one who said that the interpretation of dreams is for God only. I thought that was
Mhm.
awesome. I was
Yeah.
like, nobody, no psychic, no medium can tell me nothing about my dreams because that's for God alone. I'm thinking God speaks to us through our dreams. I think so. Um, and not God, Joseph said that since it was given twice, that it was definitely from God
Yeah.
because God will. I read this in the commentary too that was like a preview of, like, he sent it twice, right?
Mhm.
And then he shared it with Joseph, and they said that this pointed to, and I forgot what the verse is, but it's like, let there be like two or three witnesses to something,
Mhm.
to an interpretation or whatever.
Mhm.
They said that was like a foreshadowing to that.
That's cool.
hmm So it's like his dream. He had the dream twice. They were still pretty different. One had the sickly cows and the fat cows,
Mhm.
and one had the healthy wheat and the shriveled wheat. But still, the same thing happened in both of the
Right.
dreams. The bigger cows and the bigger wheat was swallowed up by the scrawny ones.
Mhm.
So yeah,
And the fact that Joseph was like, so you need to appoint a very trustworthy person to do this very thing very specifically and put this in a very specific place. Like, if they didn't turn around and be like, so you like
yeah. But he's
that
so
would be
humble that
so
he was
dumb.
like, I don't really need, like, he's just giving advice. He's not even looking
Yeah.
for the job. He's like, he's probably thinking I'm going back to prison
Right.
because
Yeah.
he was still in prison at this point. Um, we skipped the fact that the only reason Pharaoh knew that Joseph could even interpret dreams because he interpreted some fellow prisoners' dreams while he was in jail. He was just still in jail because the what was it, the cupbearer forgot to tell Pharaoh about him when he got
Mhm.
out until later when he finally did. Um,
Timing.
yeah, I mean, people forget about you when they get back in position
They
sometimes.
do, but it's
They do.
like we always hear for such a time as this and as it pertains to Esther, but every single thing that happened in Joseph's life was so timely
Mhm.
because if if the baker, I mean not the baker, if the cupbearer remembered Joseph and was like, Pharaoh, 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 there's a dude in jail right now who interprets dreams, but Pharaoh hadn't had a dream yet, it wouldn't mean anything to him.
Exactly.
So it's like if he would have gotten that information too early, it would have been written off. And so
And he
hearing it
might not
again
even
when he needs
remembered
it,
him at the
yeah,
time.
it's not
Yeah.
even gonna matter by the time he actually needs it, because it's already been written off. And so it's like Pharaoh needed to hear Joseph's name at that specific point,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
his
there
whole
was still
story is
like God was
basically
still doing
calculated.
something.
Yeah, his whole story is like
Yeah.
extremely calculated to the point where it's like you even go back to the beginning, and like if he was never even sold into slavery,
Hmm.
he couldn't have did all the things that he did that
Hmm.
eventually impacted his family and
Yeah,
like
like
his whole country.
he told his brothers, because his brothers, well, okay, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit.
Yeah, we can
um
fast forward. I
so
mean, we're past prison, so and we get the
yeah.
dream interpretation. So now he's rising to power.
Yes, so he is now second in command to all of Egypt. No one has um more power than him other than Pharaoh. And so now, he's built up all the grains or whatever and stored up all the 1/5 of the harvest for the 7 years, and then now we're in the famine years. And this is giving Abraham again, because there was also a famine in Canaan when that had like gone through Egypt or whatever, and also hit Canaan when Abram went to Egypt the first time and ended up like lying to Pharaoh or whatever, saying that Sarah was his sister, and then they brought back Hagar. So it's
Yeah.
giving a lot of that. Because Jacob's like, okay, if we don't go to Egypt to get grain, we're gonna die out here. God
But
sent
it
y'all
was
out here.
true though.
Yes, and it was true when Abram said it.
Yeah, that's true.
It was true when Abram said it, but it's like how can I say this? The fact that Joseph was already in Egypt before the famine is like the ram in the bush, where it's
Mm.
like God set this up for y'all to have sustenance during this famine. If Joseph was never sold into slavery, like you were saying, there would be nobody to save Egypt or the surrounding cities, including Canaan. Um, and so when his brothers showed up, because Jacob sent the brothers to go and get grain, go to buy grain from Egypt. Um, he, recognized the brothers. He was like mad dramatic and was like, "Go get your younger brother," and whatever. And Jacob's the drama. I mean, Joseph is the drama.
I like him though. He likes to
He's
party
a
too.
yeah, he's a very heart feeling person. Like everything is so
Mhm.
intense for him.
The baby is
Um,
like that though in families. If you notice, sometimes the baby is the one that
feels everything.
they have their feelings. Either
Yeah.
that or they're heartless. They're like no in between.
Yeah, there's no in between. You're right. Um, Oh, but like after the whole debacle with his brothers or whatever, and the brothers were finally apologetic, like, oh, like Joseph reveals himself as his brother, and the brothers was like, oh, I'm so sorry, like we shouldn't have done that, like it caused our dad so much, harm, and da 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 da. And Joseph was like, don't apologize, like it wasn't even you that sold me into slavery, like God put me here to save y'all.
Yeah, he
And
said, "What you meant for evil, God turned it to good," and that,
yep.
I mean, that applies to everybody's life.
Hmm.
Just so that is just so amazing that whatever happens, God can turn it around for your benefit. The things that were supposed to tear you down, literal slavery, literal bondage, literal all that. You could put that in a metaphor, the bondage that you've been in.
Hmm.
When you come to God, it could be used for his glory. That
Yeah.
is amazing.
And that's like the beautiful character arc of Joseph here, because
Mhm.
at the beginning, like when his brothers were selling him and he was realizing that his brothers just sold him into slavery, he's like, why did you do this to me? Like, why are you doing this to me? Save me. Why are you doing this to me? And now on the flip side, after all of this stuff has happened, he's able to look at them and be like, it wasn't even y'all, like this was God's
Yeah.
plan all along. If this had never happened, then we would not have grain. Like, and all of us would be dead. So so
Yeah.
this was on purpose. And also that made me think, like, I know in last episode I was trying to figure out how to say like both good and evil are in the hands of God, but not necessarily evil, but even what we perceive as bad.
Right. Everything's
So
being set up.
yeah, like we only see how something affects us. We don't see into the future of how it's going to affect other things. And so it may look to us as a bad situation, but if it wasn't for that situation, something down the line where it can be perceived as a blessing, or an easily perceiving blessing down the line, would have never occurred if this perceivably bad situation didn't happen. So there's a verse in Matthew where it's like talking about all the stuff that happened to Mary, um like leading up to Jesus's birth, and like Joseph rejecting her and like wanting to like divorce her quietly, and God, all that kind of stuff, how she had to go away for a while and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a verse that says, and all of these took place so that Jesus Christ could be born, basically.
Yeah.
um and it's like, yeah, all of these things took place. If one of these things did not take place, Jesus would not be born. All of these things took place so that Jesus could be born. So
Yeah.
the
God was
story that we
preserving his
live
plan the whole time.
the whole time, the lives that we live, there is nothing by accident. There is nothing that takes God by surprise. Everything is orchestrated, and what we perceive as bad is even good in our situation. It's not going to feel good, obviously. And I don't want to downplay that, because a lot of things that have happened in my life still don't make sense to me. But I do believe and have faith that there was a reason.
Yeah.
Not saying that God did this to me, because again, there's perception issue here. It's not the fact that whether or not God did good or God did bad. It's how we perceive what God did. God is only good. So we take things that feel bad and attribute them to Satan, when Satan doesn't even have that kind of power in our lives to do these things. You see what I'm saying? Like,
I think you cut out a little bit when you said Satan. What did you say about Satan? Say it again.
Oh, yeah. We attribute the bad stuff that we go through to Satan, when Satan doesn't even have the power in and of himself to produce these things in our lives.
Right.
They have to be allowed. And so it's not like God is like, oh, I'm going to do this to her to teach her a lesson. Like, no, that's not how God works. And what we perceive as bad isn't always bad for us. That was my point.
Yeah. I also read too, and that goes back to my like, God has a plan. And I feel like even when, say if Satan was throwing some like rocks or whatever into the plan, he could twist it back to where it's always Jesus was the goal the whole time. So God had to allow Joseph to be sold into slavery and to get to Egypt to preserve this family. This family, there's many families on the earth at this time, but this family is chosen because he is going to bring Jesus back through this family, through this specific family. Other families are blessed, but this family is going to bring the Messiah. So, no, I can't let Joseph stay here and y'all die. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a plan for Joseph to be somewhere where he's going to have a lot of authority. Yes, God probably could have just rained, I don't know, manna down or whatever. He could just zap the bread down to them if he wanted to. But that wasn't what he wanted to do. He wanted to, at the end of the day, show himself to so many people. Like, if he had done it the way he did it, even Pharaoh wouldn't have known who God was. Even Potiphar and Pharaoh both was like, even the prison warden knew that God was with Joseph. He knew, like, they just had a feeling. These are not believers. This is like in our own life, where maybe people will be like, I just don't know what it is about you. Maybe they don't really know what it is, but they know you're a Christian. They know they just see like your life is just like, even when you're going through stuff, they're just like, what is going? They're always so peaceful for some reason. They're always, just doing like your character shows when God is with you. It's not like Joseph wasn't in there giving sermons. He wasn't in there preaching. He was just being himself and letting God work through him and giving all the glory to God. When he was interpreting dreams, he didn't say it was him. He didn't say, yeah, I'm the man, I'm the dream interpreter. He was like, I would not be able to do this if it wasn't God. God is the one speaking through me. Don't give me any credit. Please don't give me any credit. And I like that. That's a good way to be.
It is.
Are we still on Joseph? Well, you say he revealed himself to his brothers.
Yeah.
After he revealed himself to his brothers and they did the whole back and forth situation, he finally tells, they all have a good time. They weep. They have a party. They actually get drunk. It says that in the Bible that they get drunk. So then they go to get their dad. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few parties in the Bible. They used to party a little bit.
Oh yeah. The wedding feast was a week. Yeah. They was drinking for a week straight.
That wine too, that good wine. But the last thing I have for like before we get into our intercessory prayer was Jacob's death, and it's a pretty short. He did. I wish I like had it memorized. Like he went. He said something to each of his sons and basically told them if they were evil or not, told them if they were angry, told them like just all these things about them. So some stuff was good, I think, though. Some stuff was like, you will be blessed, you will have this land. Some of it was like, Like he told, which we're about to get into, the brothers. Which brothers was it? It was like Levi and is it Levi and Simeon? Which I thought was interesting because
Yes.
Levi had all that anger, right? But the Levites are from Levi, and they're the ones that get chosen to be priests. I thought that was so interesting. That Levi is out here killing people, but he was doing it in a like,
Moses killed people.
yeah. But I mean, we're gonna get to it, but I
Yeah,
mean, they didn't have to kill all of them like that.
they didn't, but
They
they.
didn't. The commentaries say that they were in the wrong,
I
but I
mean,
know in
yeah,
their
because
hearts they
Jacob
were.
said they were in the wrong.
Jacob was just being scary.
True.
Jacob was just being scary. But I want to touch on before Jacob dies. He says, "I wait for your salvation," and I was like, was that him like not asking God to be saved, but like, what does that mean? I wait for your salvation. That is like Genesis. I want to say it's like 48, maybe 18, maybe. Um, I forgot
Oh,
what.
I remember reading that too. I think it was when
That
and
stood
that's when
out
he's
to
talking
me.
to his sons, right?
Yeah, but it's just like plugged in there randomly. Like I wait for your salvation. I'm like, is he talking to God?
Oh, I trust in you for salvation, oh Lord.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's like save me from these people.
yeah. Or like say like what is he getting saved from? Like you're about to die, so
Mm-hmm.
you trying to make sure you about to go to the other side to I don't know what their concept of heaven and hell was in this time because they speak about hell a lot. Well, not necessarily hell. They speak about Sheol.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm saying that right. That's the Hebrew word. But
Mm-hmm.
that's like basically like, or they call it the pit, which is like where the underworld is, where people
Yeah.
go when they die. So I haven't done that much research on that. So I don't know if I ever hear about when people die in this moment in these times where they're like, oh, I'm about to go up to heaven, or I'm about to be with you, Lord. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact that he said, I wait for your salvation, Lord, is like,
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting to me. Like, how long does he have to wait?
Okay, so I was just thinking about this the other day because um I need to look into more about Abraham's bosom
His bosom?
because yeah, it's like the name of the place where the people went who believed in God and their faith was counted to them as righteousness before Jesus came and actually died for the sins to make people righteous.
Okay.
Um and I don't know whether that term is like scriptural or if it was just a name that like someone developed for this place. Because I've definitely heard like messages talk about it and whatnot. Um, but also it's like, did when Jesus died, did all of the people pre-Jesus who believed in God and whose faith was counted to them as righteousness um go to heaven pre-Jesus, like
Mm.
anyone pre-Jesus? Because then it's
Yeah.
like in Revelation, who's the cloud of witnesses? Well, not in Revelation who's the cloud of witnesses, but like who are the martyrs and like like
Yeah.
who is our cloud of witnesses, And
Yeah. I
then
don't know where they went before. I don't know. I feel like I heard a video about it one time, but now I can't really say.
mhm.
But
and
I
then
think they believe
also
in the underworld.
yeah, but then also like I'm not sure if as soon as we die on earth that we go straight to heaven because the dead in Christ will rise first. So
Yeah.
it's like why would he come back for our bodies when he's transforming them anyway? Like I feel like we are still there.
But where
Um
do we go? Do we go to like because then if you start talking about a waiting place, now we're like in purgatory land,
right.
which is
So
scary.
right. So when Paul says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. People use that in the sense of like, well, as soon as I die, my spirit is absent from my body. But when you think of sleeping, we're not dead. We are asleep, right? So the like the sleeping metaphor, right? So when you're asleep, like just in general, like when you go to sleep at night, you have no sense of time. You're asleep. And then you wake up.
So do you think it's like our soul is asleep when we die? Because it's like your body isn't working anymore.
No, I feel like we're just taking a
But
nap.
we're taking a nap until he's ready.
Right. But
I
we
mean,
don't have a perception of time. So it's not like we're sitting here waiting for a long time.
Oh, I mean, that's not a
Almost like
bad
suspended
theory.
animation.
As long as I don't go straight into like, I mean, I'm down for a long nap. You know, I'm down for a long nap. I'm good with that. It's definitely something we should do more research on. I know that there's books on it, you know.
Yeah.
There's
But like,
there's
it's weird because like I was kind of just thinking about that today.
But how can you really know? Honestly, how
Right.
can you really know?
Exactly.
Nobody knows anything.
Exactly.
You're not gonna know until until it's done.
Listen, not gonna know. But I will take a nap for sure. I have no
Yeah, I'm
problem
down
with
for the nap.
that. I'm down for a nap.
Yeah, as long as it's not like some weird place where I'm like still dealing with nonsense, but it's like my soul just dealing with nonsense. I ain't got time for that. Like, this is a jip. Like, I want to just take my nap or go to heaven. Which one?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's like we're gonna get into that. I feel like sometime later.
Yeah,
but I definitely want to do some more
definitely
research on that.
But
Because I feel like he might have been saying like, "Save me from these people." Like I'm done with Earth now. Because
like I'm
it
ready
was
for
like
my last breath.
Huh?
Like I'm ready for my last breath, Lord.
Yeah.
Let's go, because they've been driving me nuts.
Yeah, because he said it after he was talking to Dan and like called him a viper and like, yeah, like he called him all types of out his name and then was like, Lord, I trust you for salvation.
Because I just went off on these kids.
Yeah, because like I'm done. Like I'm done.
Dang.
I think it was cool though, like how he blessed Manasseh and Ephraim, Joseph's kids.
I think I'm still wondering why he decided to bless the youngest first.
Yeah, and Joseph was like, "Bro, you tripping?" And then Jacob was like, "Nah, I know what I'm doing."
I mean, is it because that he's the youngest? You think? Because he's the younger twin, so he was like, "Nah, I could do this. I could, like."
Because like, think of a mantle, like it makes sense for him to want to pass down or like share that blessing with that kindred spirit, almost like you're the most like me.
Yeah.
So I want to give this to you to continue my legacy through you, as like to get the first of what was second. And also anytime like that I see like first and second and like the second being blessed, it's like the first will be last, the last will be first. And also it brings to mind the I think it's either in Romans or Hebrews. Paul said it, where we're able to get the gospel because God's chosen people didn't hold it dear. Like we were able to get it because they squandered it, because it was once for them. Like it was first for the Jews and then the Gentiles, like then all of us. And because they didn't receive Jesus in all of his glory, it was extended to all of the rest of us, which are the second. And so we were able to be blessed.
So do you think if they had received it, that it wouldn't have been for us, or that it would have just been for us still later? Or because I think Gentiles was always a part of the plan. I want to say that's one of the minor prophets, but the way it happened is prophesied, like the Gentiles do come after.
Yeah.
But so I guess there was probably never a way in the plan that the Jews were going to fully accept him. It just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely all on purpose. It wasn't like a cause and effect situation necessarily, but like that, drawing that parallel between us being able to receive the blessing as if we are the firstborn, or us to be able to receive the firstborn's blessing is because Esau, or like because of the parallel of Esau like giving up his birthright for some food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's this. Yeah.
For sure. Oh, yeah, I never saw that before.
So like every time I see that, the second coming before the first, like that's immediately what I see.
Yeah.
It's like the gospel, like how we're able to get the gospel.
That even takes me into, okay, at this point, we're going to go into our intercessory prayer segment, because the second being born or being first, which is like a weird thing to say. I'm going out of order. I was going to start with the Rape of Dinah, but I'm going to start with Judah and Tamar. Because,
oh my goodness.
So, okay, I'll start at the beginning of their story.
Okay, hold on. I want to set this up for people. I want to set up intercessory prayer for people because this is only our second episode, and I want this to be a collaborative thing. Like I want other people to send in their intercessory prayers.
Yes.
Because intercessory prayer is a time where we lift those people up in prayer to the Lord who need a little bit of more help in their brains from the Lord, whose decisions were quite questionable, and who lacked wisdom and needed to ask. So go ahead. Who are we lifting up in prayer today?
Today, we have Mr. Judah and Miss Tamar. So Judah and Tamar, Judah is one of Jacob's sons. And so Judah has two sons. Judah has a son, his name is who was apparently very evil. They don't even say what he did. They just say he was evil in the sight of the Lord, and God killed him. So we lifted up in prayer too, because I don't know what you were doing, but it wasn't good.
Apparently it was enough.
So in this time, there is a custom that if your brother dies, you are supposed to give his wife children so that he will have children in his name. They're not going to be your children, but it's still the family line or whatever. So Judah has another son. His name is like Onan or Onan, or I don't have the pronunciation. He is another person we're going to lift up in prayer because he does not want to get his sister-in-law pregnant, but he wants to have sex with her. Let's talk about that. So he doesn't want to get her pregnant, so he has sex with her, and I will say what the Bible says. He emits on the ground. He emits his semen onto the ground. I can say that. I'm not going to say the slang for what people say it is, but he emits his semen onto the ground, so he does not get her pregnant. God sees this, and he kills him too. At this point, Judah's like, my sons keep dying. I don't know if it's because of Tamar or what, but I have another son named something. Shella something.
Yeah, it's Shella, but I think it's Shella, but I've been calling him Sheila all week.
So he has another son, but that son is young, apparently, because Judah's like, I'm not going to give you him till he's as a husband until he's grown up. So Tamar's waiting. Tamar, let's not forget, Tamar is not even a Hebrew girl. She's a Canaanite woman. So there we have, I want to say, I don't know if God said this yet, but they weren't supposed to be intermixing with the Canaanites. Maybe he told them that later because of all the drama that was happening. So later on,
Abraham was like, I don't want my son Isaac to be with any of these Canaanite women.
Yeah, he had the right idea. So they knew that because like I said in the last episode, Canaanites sacrificed their children to Baal, or you can call him Molech too. It's a god that likes newborn babies, apparently. But anyway, so Tamar, she's waiting. She's waiting. She has on her widow's clothes. Her 2 husbands have died. She sees that Shayla has grown up and he is not her husband yet. And she's like, "What's up, Judah?" So I don't even know how she gets this in her brain. She decides, but I decided that she knew that Judah was already doing this. Like that was like a thing that he frequented. So she decides to dress like a prostitute, which is actually covering her face and kind of being like covered, which is weird. You would think that she'd just be like, "Whoa!"
Right.
But so she's sitting in the place where I guess she looked like a prostitute, and Judah walks up to her and he's like, "Hey, come sleep with me." And she's like, "Why? What are you gonna give me?" So first of all, I'm like, "Okay, Judah, this is not your first time at the rodeo. You clearly approach prostitutes when you see them. You're like, oh, prostitutes here. Bet it's time for me to sleep with her," because I'm like, where was his wife? Wasn't he married too? Pretty sure Judah was married. He had kids.
Yeah.
And I think that his wife was I think his wife was Canaanite woman too, if I read that right. So he's like, let me sleep with her. So she's like, what are you gonna give me? And I think he was like, I'll give you a goat, but I don't have it right now. So she's like, well, leave me.
I gotta get my goat.
Your ring and whatever. And she's like, you could be with a goat and I'll give you stuff back. So he sleeps with her, right? Ends up getting her pregnant. He doesn't know. She leaves, takes off her prostitute clothes, puts back on her widow clothes, like nobody knows anything.
Listen, okay, hold on. Okay.
Their story is crazy.
Okay. So how his son
and don't forget
know how to not get a girl pregnant?
Huh? I said, don't forget we can't go over 2 hours today. We're already an hour 15.
How does his son know how to not get a girl pregnant, but he don't?
Oh, he didn't care. He didn't pull out. He didn't admit on the ground. Oh, can I say pull out? He didn't admit. He did not admit on the ground. Clearly, and she was clearly ovulating. It was perfect timing on everything. So, but again, people in God's plan, because these two are not really good people. Tamar, I don't know what she was thinking. So we're gonna get to how they impact Jesus, because okay, so now the word around town is to Judah, hey, your daughter-in-law's been out here acting like a prostitute, even though she only dressed like a prostitute probably once, or I don't know. They didn't say anything else about it. So she sure didn't know what to wear. That to happen, because clearly she's pregnant now. She's about to start showing. So he gets mad and he's like, "Bring her out. I'm gonna burn her to death." When he is the sinner, it's like people now, when people have sinned one way and they want to call out another sin, like they should just be burned at the stake when you're all sinning.
Right. Like you're the one when they caught the woman in the act of adultery, like there was a whole dude in the bed. You can't commit adultery by yourself.
And this is the thing. He acted all high and mighty because he thought nobody knew about his sin. Because guess what? When she reveals his sin by saying, well, the father of my child is whose items these are, the items that he left her. When he sees it, he switches his story real fast. He's like, you know what? He's like, she is actually more honest than I am, and I am not a good person. And he just left it alone. He was like, dang.
Right.
That sucks. He was like, she got me. And he just left it alone because you're caught. So then she has twins. And I don't know what the other one's name was, but one of them is named Perez, I think. So when she gives birth, though, one is trying to come out. He puts his hand out, and they put a red string on his hand to signify that he was the first. But then he withdraws his hand, and then Perez comes out, and he was the firstborn. And Perez is actually, Jesus is from that line. Perez is in the Jesus Messiah line, which I thought was pretty interesting. Yeah. So Judah and Tamar, as crazy as they are ancestors of Jesus.
Man.
That God uses messed up people to do his work. Because if he just used perfect people, would the gospel really be the gospel? No. That's what I have to say about that. Um, who else do I have on the intercessory prayer list? We can talk about the rape of Dinah if you would like. I have the rape of Dinah and what happened there, and then I have Joseph's brothers, but we already kind of touched on them a little bit, so we don't have to talk about them. And I also have Potiphar's wife, but she's pretty quick. So yeah.
So with Dinah, okay.
Yeah, that was a messed up situation, man.
It
Should we tell the
happens
people
so
what happened?
fast. Like I'm reading and I'm like, whoa, wait, hold on,
Yeah,
pause.
yeah,
What? Wait.
it was all good, and then it was like it was not good.
Like you're not gonna speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't ready at
Mm-mm,
all.
mm-mm.
I can
No.
tell you this though, I've blocked out a lot of the story. And so I mean the brothers were a little much.
Yeah, yeah. So in this story, guys, of Dinah, Dinah is Jacob's daughter. Out of all these boys, he has his daughter. It's not told if he has other daughters or not, but this is the daughter that they mentioned. So remember earlier we talked about how that Jacob and his family had to return to Bethel. Before they're in Bethel, they're in this place called Shechem, where they're not supposed to be. It's a very immoral town. It's very worldly. There's no God there. No one worships God there. So one day, Dinah is like, I want to go out and meet the woman of the town. Bad idea, apparently, because this guy, who his name is Shechem too, named after the city, he's the prince, apparently, of the place. He seizes her and he rapes her. Um, he defiles her, is what also the Bible says. Um, and then it also says that he like loved her, but it was like a when you have like a stalker or like
He was obsessed with
he was
her.
obsessed with her. He had like this like unhealthy like love for her. He didn't love her as like a godly type of love. He was like lustful and yeah, basically forced himself on her. I feel bad for Dinah. They never really say what happened, like what she felt or what she said. But after this happens to Dinah, everybody hears about it. A couple of her brothers hear about it. They're not happy about it. In this culture, it's really big deal. Like your family's honor is a big deal. So them doing that to the family is like a spit in the face, basically. So they're angry. Jacob is not that angry, if you ask me. Jacob is trying to lay low because he knows that they're minorities in the land, and if they upset anybody, they could be wiped out. Essentially, that's what I think.
He didn't want the smoke.
He didn't want the smoke
He
at
didn't.
all. But the
He's
brothers
been
wanted
on
the
the
smoke.
run practically his whole life. Like
Yeah, he was
his
tired
run
at that
from
point. He's like,
Esau,
I'm
like
tired.
he is
I don't want to fight
crazy.
with anybody anymore. I really don't. And it's like, but I don't know if I don't know if he didn't care about his daughter that much, or if he was just like scared basically because like he's outnumbered or whatever. But clearly they weren't that outnumbered because so they make a deal. Shechem and his dad, I think his dad's name is Hamor or Hamor. I'm gonna get these pronunciations one day, y'all. I'm gonna prepare enough to have the correct pronunciation. But they go to Jacob. They're like, "Give me Dinah as a wife. I've already raped her, but now give her to me as a wife." And Jacob's like, "Sure," but the brothers are like, "Nah, not until all of the men of your city are circumcised, like we are."
Oh,
So,
bro, this is so petty, and I loved every second of it.
bruh. So
I
I
loved
looked up
every
that
second.
they circumcision wasn't only a thing that Israelites did, so it was like other ancient people did it the same. So I think that they were like, oh, okay, we know what a circumcision is. It wasn't a covenant for them, but they knew what it was. So they're like, cool, this how much. I don't even know how they went back to their town and told these men that they were going to have to do this circumcision as an adult. You
Like
don't
you
want to do that,
remember the whole thing.
dude, bruh. You don't want to
They
do
not
it.
have anesthesia.
Don't. They didn't have anesthesia. Don't do it. Do it.
Like They were
I
the full
circumcised my
on big
son because I
brother.
was like, I don't want him to have to do it when he gets older, and I heard it's real terrible when you do it when you're older. I just
Like,
it takes a little bit to recover from that.
yeah, I would imagine. Like, they did the full on big brother thing. Like, if you hurt my little sister, I'm gonna, cut your stuff off.
Oh
That's
yeah.
literally, it's literally what happened.
So all the guys are circumcised, right? But they're what's the word? They're healing. It takes like a like a few days to heal. So while they're healing, and they probably can't even really move very well, let alone swing a sword or however they were fighting. The brothers go in there and they slaughter all of the men. Not just the man who raped his sister, all of the men, which kind of got Jacob a little angry. He was like, "Why y'all go do that?" He was like, "Now we really got to get out of here," which they
Hmm.
eventually did. But he was like, it's like Jacob didn't want to be bothered.
Yeah. He's like, we could have just, dealt with this quietly. Um, but ain't nothing quiet about defiling my little sister.
No, no.
That
What
I'm
I read
sorry,
too was
bro.
like that the brothers in this culture even took it more seriously than the father. So I guess the dynamic that played out is pretty
Mhm.
like true to the culture or whatever. But they were really, really mad. And I
But
want to say it was
Dinah
Levi and Simeon, I think.
was Dinah Rachel's maid's daughter.
I want to say she's Leah's daughter.
That might have something to do with it because
Yeah.
the ones who came and avenged Dinah were her full brothers. I thought, or like her,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, we might want to fact check that, but that probably is true. Because I would feel like you're closer to your siblings that y'all have the same mom and dad versus
yeah,
maybe your half siblings. And especially they had so much sibling rivalry in that family because of their parents' dynamics. It's
hmm,
just, when you really think about it, you're like, this is a very dysfunctional family.
yeah.
Like, when you really think about their day to day, I'm sure it was just like way too much. Um, but yeah. And then, do you want to touch on Potiphar's wife before we wrap?
That girl is crazy. So like, okay, I want to know like sis, where do you get off? You know what I mean? Like where like
She was bored, I
okay,
think.
cool. Like you just decided one day like, ooh, I like a slave. Like what? Like what
He
are you
was, but they
doing?
said he was very good looking. Joseph was handsome.
Okay,
He
that
must have been more
listen.
handsome than the other ones because, or she already had them and she was on to Joseph at this
That's what
time.
I'm feeling cuz like she knew exactly what to do after Joseph denied her, like her screaming or whatnot to tell this story. It just seemed
Hmm.
too like premeditated. It seemed like she'd either done it before or she's
Or
been
she
waiting
really
for
thought
the
about
day.
it. Yeah. Or maybe she
Because
thought that he was gonna tell on her, so she was like, "Well, I'm gonna tell first."
yeah,
But I
yeah,
don't know what she was trying to prove. Like, was her husband not having sex with her or something? Like, is he so busy that he's gone? Was it like, well, the dynamic like modern day where
yeah.
your husband's always gone and you're lonely at the house, but it doesn't seem like it was that dynamic. I think she was just,
She
I
just
think
saw
she was just
something
a
new and
little
shiny.
harlot. Yeah, she's just
Yeah,
a little
she just
harlot.
has something new and shiny. I mean, like you can have a lust issue and have not like have nothing wrong with the relationship that you're in other than your own lust issue, you know?
But he gave her like a good reason. He was like, "Look, your husband has literally given me everything. Everything is under my authority except you." I think he was really like, "Look, I don't you fine, but you're not worth me losing my job. Like my job is good. Like I'm
Yeah.
actually good where I'm at." Like he was, of course, his character was really good. He walked with God. He loved God. He said he didn't want to sin against God, even in
Mhm.
his reason for her. But he also, I think, was calculating like, bro, I don't need you in this whole scheme of things. Like I have everything
Right.
but you, and I'm actually good with that. Like, and that kind of like I guess made her mad.
Yeah. And also I mean like I would imagine if Joseph had everything but her, then I feel like she had everything but Joseph. And there's a certain like enticing aspect of like what you can't have. It's like that's the one thing that I cannot have is Joseph.
Mm-hmm. And
And
I'm gonna
so
try
I
to get
want
her.
him.
She just, I don't know. Either way, she's a little harlot. I mean, she makes
She
a
extra.
brief entrance into the story, but she is the reason why Joseph's thrown in prison. So she's a pivotal point.
Mm-hmm.
But also
Just the
used in
fact
the
that she
plan,
jumped in was like, don't kill him. Like,
girl. But she was part of the plan too, because if he never got thrown into prison, he would have never been interpreting dreams. Well, I mean, we don't know, but that's how the story happened.
yeah,
That was the cause. So I don't want to say like God put her in position to do that and be lustful, because that's not, I don't think how he operates. But he used that for his
mm-hmm.
plan.
Yep. And
But
those are
yeah,
who we are lifting up in prayer today.
yes,
Join us in prayer
yes,
for
yeah.
them and anyone like them,
Yeah. There's a lot of people in the
including ourselves.
Bible. I'm pretty sure that we're probably gonna have an intercessory prayer segment probably every week, because there's always somebody doing something that's like, what? Like, wait till we get to Israel. They're gonna be in that section. The whole episode is just gonna be that.
Israel is me. Me
It
is
is.
Israel.
It's
I can't even.
no, for sure. For
Oh,
sure. For
but
sure.
thank you all for joining us for the
Yes,
second
thank you for
episode of Tents
joining
and
us.
Tabernacles.
Yes,
Um,
I think we're still having a few technical difficulties. Last episode there was a few echoes, but some people listened, and I love you guys for that. This
love you.
episode, I feel like I gotta get something done with my Wi-Fi. I gotta either get it upped or get another router. So hopefully in the next week I'll have that. Because this episode, I'm gonna listen to the audio later, but I think we had a few freezes. But people, bear with us. The Lord, is gonna get us together.
Yeah.
Um, so we really appreciate everybody who is already supporting, and those people in the future are gonna support. So if you're listening on audio, like it. What is it? Is there subscribe?
Mm-hmm.
Comment, do all the things. If you're
Yep.
watching this
Share it
on
with your
YouTube,
friends.
like it, share it, subscribe, all the things, leave a review, all the things that you're supposed to do
Yes.
that for us.
All right. We love you guys. We will talk to you guys next week.
All right, have a good
Bye.
one. Bye.